Hi, this is Tim Krolsky. Most people might think they know what goes on in the life of a truck driver, but we thought it was time to understand the person that operates the truck, to find what actually drives them and what really goes on before and after the brakes get set. Welcome to Garner Trucking's Beyond the Cab. Hello, this is Tim Krolsky, and I'm here with Larry Gannon. Larry's been with Garner for almost 5 years now, since June of 2015.
Yes.
So almost 5 years. Pretty exciting.
Oh, yes.
I think it's a great accomplishment. It takes a special individual to be able to get out on the road and do this job for 5+ years, and certainly we're happy that you're a part of our fleet. I wanted to start today and just talk a little bit about your roots, kind of where you've come from. I know that you are from the Cleveland area. It's warm to my heart. I'm originally from Lorain, Ohio, so we kind of speak the same Deutsch as far as that's concerned. But talking a little bit about your history, your childhood, what you were into at a younger age before, we started work, before we kind of got real.
Okay. High school, I played football, and that's pretty much about it. And then after high school, I went in the Army, did 15 years there, went in there as a 31 Victor, communication specialist, then went into special ops.
What did the communication side of things, what did that entail for you?
It was radio repair and field security.
Okay.
Scrambler devices and stuff like that. They're not supposed to hear on when you talk.
Okay. Special machines.
Yep, special machines, so only one person can hear what you're talking about.
So that technical background served you well. You got into being an electrician, correct?
Correct.
After being out of the military, and thank you for your service, by the way. I've got two boys that are both in the military. Actually, one that's still in, and one that's finished his time in the military. And I don't think there's really anything greater that you can give to keep us all free. So I appreciate your service.
Thank you.
So talk to me a little bit about that life after the military.
It was, I got into commercial electrician and did a lot of factories, got into high voltage, and then an injury occurred, and I ended up having to quit electrical and went into trucking.
Okay, and we're certainly happy to have you. As far as your other background, family, you've got some kids, and
yes, I got a 36-year-old son, a 33-year-old daughter, 31-year-old daughter, and a 13-year-old.
Now, are they all close by? Are they all live in the Cleveland area? Are they scattered all over? Or?
Well, my one daughter lives in Columbus. She's a 33-year-old. My son lives maybe half hour from us.
Okay.
My 31-year-old lives in Chicago.
Is that right? Did you go and visit?
No.
Is that wisdom? Is that what it is?
I drive through there enough. I don't need to visit.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And obviously the youngest is still at home.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So what career paths have they chosen?
Well, my one son works in a factory, and my one daughter in Columbus, she works in designing, and the one in Chicago is banking.
Okay. All right, so a variety of different
Accounting,
things.
So
just goes to show the spectrum of things we all fall into in life. Yep. Pretty interesting. Now, married, do they have kids? You have grandkids?
I have 2 grandkids.
Okay.
That's it.
Excellent. Well, that's enough, right?
Yep.
So how old?
The one
boys,
is
girls?
12 and the other one's 9.
Okay.
That's, so.
Very young yet.
Yep.
Still impressionable.
Yes,
Excellent.
they are.
I know we had talked earlier about the training that you went through. You went with Great Lakes.
Yes.
Great Lakes. I mentioned too that my CDL training was down in Medina, Ohio, so relatively close as far as the proximity of training, and it has certainly some value, and it teaches you a few things along the way. But when you made that move from getting your CDL through Great Lakes and getting into the truck and training and coming on board, what was that experience like for you? Do you recall that time frame? Getting out there, learning things for the first time, what mistakes did you make then that you won't make again?
I mean, I don't know if I made any mistakes, but it was just exciting to see different places and travel where you're not paying for it. I mean, you're getting a free ride somewhere pretty much, and there's a lot of nice places that you can go see in a truck.
I agree.
Yeah.
What would you say is kind of the landmark point, the thing that you saw behind the wheel of the truck that you didn't think you'd get a chance to see?
Probably going to Texas. Yeah, that was a nice run.
Yeah,
all the way to Laredo, Texas. That was nice. You don't get too many chances to go that far.
Yeah, well, that's true, especially with a company like ours.
Yes.
You know, traditionally we try to keep things east of the Mississippi if we can. I know for me, back in my driving days, I remember very clearly coming to St. Louis and seeing the arch, you know, behind the wheel of the truck. I remember it was maybe 7:30 at night, so the traffic was a little calmer, and I just remember thinking at that point in time, I cannot believe that I have a job where, as you're saying, you can see this stuff for free. And it's not all fun and games out there, but it's those types of moments that really kind of you keep near and dear. And here I am, you know, it's been 23 years, and I still remember that as vividly as that day. So those experiences and things that you have, those first time moments, it really does mean something as you're out on the road and I guess getting your feet wet, right?
Oh yeah.
So I wanted to talk about a few things in the world of trucking. You know, we that personal, that background, and knowing a little bit more about you, it certainly helps us and all the audience that might be listening in to get a better idea of who you are. You know, you've got some training now behind you. You've got several trainees that you've brought through our program here at Garner, and we appreciate that. It's a difficult gig to be able to train others and get them sharp. But if you could kind of, again, go back to your beginnings, what advice would you give somebody then, you know, as they're getting into the industry or coming to work for Garner? You know, it's kind of two different things, right? Because you go out and you get the training, you get enough to kind of be dangerous and get out on the road and learn how to operate a tractor trailer. But then it's a whole other experience once you get past that education piece and you start applying that stuff in a real world situation. So what advice would you give?
I mean, I tell a lot of the trainees that you got to watch, because you're going to be going 5-6 days. You know, you got to work with the family on that, because that's the hardest part of the whole thing with the training, is trying to get them to work around not being able to call their spouse or get in contact with them, because we're training. We stop at different hours in the night. It might be 1 o'clock in the morning. You can't be calling your spouse at 1 o'clock in the morning. They might be sleeping.
Not if you want to keep them, right?
Right. And the thing is that's the hardest part of the whole gig, is working with the spouse and being able to get over that, because that's the hardest part of the whole thing.
I know we've had some conversation about that in the past, that when you get into the strength, I guess, that's required, you know, by both parties, the individual that is behind to take care of the individual that's there to take care of the day-to-day tasks, you know, whether it's bills or, you know, we kind of live in a world now where I think you can kind of share some of that responsibility because we have connectivity to the internet. You know, you can pay a bill by the phone if you need to, but you know, the day-to-day of bill paying, the yard maintenance, any upkeep, you know, laundry, all these different pieces. If you have kids, young kids, you've got to have those individuals that are home and strong enough to be able to handle those situations. I know commonplace, we've heard stories about, you know, the heater goes out in the winter time, or the AC goes out in the summertime, or you know, there's a problem with some utility, and the individual that's behind may have to be the one that's dealing with that. But conversely, on the other side of that coin, you have the individual that's out on the road, and that person has to be the right wiring, the right strength to be able to handle the job as well, because for different reasons, then it's just as difficult for that person that's out there.
It's hard when you're on the road, if something issue comes up at home and you can't be there. It's hard, but hopefully they can get around it and get there and get whatever needs to be done.
With a little guidance. And I think, you know, years ago, I started back in 97, which doesn't feel like that long ago, but in terms of technology and the amount of changes that there have been since that time, cell phones were still not relatively new, but not everybody had one, and not everybody was using them. Certainly, your 12, your 13-year-old didn't have a cell phone at that time. It was mostly adults that were carrying those things around. Hell, I was still buying calling cards and those types of things when I first started. So it's the connectivity is a little bit better. It allows you to at least have some sort of relationship, with that individual that's being left behind. Or if you have that quick question, that problem that's come up that maybe has a quick solution to it that the answer to be able to take a phone call or be able to send a text if you're, in a parked position or something. I think that at least can be a little bit more helpful now versus what it was years ago. As you've gotten started, and certainly with the training that you've done, I know that you've got to have some tools, some resources that you've found that really work for you out on the road. What are some of those things that you can say with confidence? Yeah, I use this all the time, and here's why.
I mean, I use Google Map or Google Earth. I teach the trainees to look at the physical building that we're going to, because the addresses are for the store, not for where your ship and receiving is. Your trucker path to find truck stops. And I got Trucker Pro, which I use.
What's the Trucker Pro?
It's a truck route, and it still shows the building, so you can get familiar with the truck route, but I don't use it I use my GPS. I don't use anything as a way to get to the customer, because, you don't want that error.
Right. But, again, at this day and age, you have all of those pieces right at your fingertips that really allow you to kind of zoom in on that location, see where the docks are, find out what the best drive to use is, those types of things. It becomes invaluable, I think, to you as a driver out on the road. So in terms of resources, not only with some of the apps that you spoke about, but even just simple things like Google, that can help you kind of zero down and really understand what you're going to get yourself into once you get to that final mile, right?
Yep.
That's pretty important stuff. Now, as far as the training that you do you get your students then started off with those types of tools, or do you wait on that?
No, I start them right off the get-go. I mean, even if I'm driving, before we move, I have them put the customer address in, let them find out where the shipping dock's at, where the dock's at, which driveway to go in, so you're facing the right way. Because you go in the wrong driveway, you can't make a U-turn.
Right.
No room.
That's that, right?
That's it. You got to make sure you go in the right driveway. You go in the wrong one, and I get them look at the map too.
I think we all kind of have our own strengths, our own weaknesses, especially when we get into the job place and the workforce, and we figure out what we're good at, what we're not good at. What special skills would you say that you've either already possessed or that you've really honed in on that have helped you be the driver that you are today?
Probably my sense of direction. Because I'm pretty good at remembering routes, truck stops, and stuff like that, where I can help a lot of drivers out. I do help a lot of drivers out. They call me up. They're running short on time. Mm-hmm. I can rattle off a truck stop, tell them exactly how many parking spots there, and I don't even know. I don't even look on my phone.
That brings up a really good question. Especially as your kind of first point of contact with a trainee. How much time do you spend after they've been out of your, out from the comfort of your wings, so to speak, that you still take those calls and still is it the majority of your trainees? Is it there's a select few?
It's pretty much all of them. I still get calls from Ben. I get calls from Brian. Ask me about routes. He says I'm running short on time. I can't look at my phone. I can't find out where a truck stop is. I ask him where he's at. I think about it. I'm driving at the time, and I go, okay, just go 34 miles up the road or 30 miles up the road, and there's a TA there. It's got 174 parking spots.
So still humanity is a resource. Is that what you're telling me?
It is. And they'll get there, and they said, how the heck do you remember those things? I said, I just do.
It goes back to your sense of direction.
Yeah, and the thing is, doing the route over, I know exactly where I'm going for a truck stop. I don't even have to look. I know how far I can get.
Right. Well, and I again, some of what we do, is repetitive. So
Yep.
it helps the driver. You get a sense of confidence and a sense of comfortability towards this is where I'm headed. I know where I can stop, before and after. And I think that kind of settles down, some of the anxiety that you can feel out on the road. For me, I always thrived on that new experience, that new place to go, and the adventure of doing that. But not everybody's wired that way. Not everybody cares to have that much adventure.
Right.
And so it's important.
Yeah.
Larry, we talked a little bit about, our first experiences. You talked a little bit about your trip to Texas and kind of what that meant to you to go and see those things that you didn't think you'd get a chance to see behind the wheel of a truck. What is your favorite memory, related to the job, at this point?
Getting into my first truck. I mean, it's nice to set your truck up the way you want to, and it's yours until they get to give you a new one. But it's just nice. The trucks are great. They're fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Anything special or specific that you require while you're out on the road that might be a little unique or different from maybe someone else? I had told you earlier I was surprised the first time I saw a driver. He had maybe a 32-inch television, and at that time you had the big, two big back TVs, and they had a PlayStation inside there, and I just couldn't believe someone had, an entire gaming system inside the truck.
I mean, I just had the standard. I mean, pretty much like refrigerator, microwave, 36-inch TV, Blu-ray, about 100 movies, and a projector that I watch movies.
That's unique.
On the side of the truck.
Yeah, that's absolutely unique. We purchased actually purchasing a total of 100 trailers. The first 50 have come in, and of course, I'm a huge fan of the big black Garner truck, and that includes the trailer. So we're going to wipe out some of those white Garner trailers, minus a few rentals. So your movie watching experience might go down a little bit out on the road, but you still have a TV, and certainly you can stop by here and show a movie if you wanted, right?
I can still watch them in the truck.
That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true.
I got a projector screen that magnets that rolls up and puts on the side of the truck.
That is fair. When you reflect on the job, and those folks that, some succeed, some decide that this lifestyle, the job isn't for them. What are those factors that help someone either succeed or contribute towards that failure within the industry? What do you see as the kind of the common things that are positive for those that really get it, understand it, and get out on the road and make it happen, and those that just find that this isn't going to work for them? It's
the time away from home.
Okay.
Away from your girlfriend or your wife, new wife. I don't know if it's the trust or they just don't want to be away from home that often. That's why a lot of them, I want to be home every day. This isn't the life for me, and the communication part.
Okay.
They can't communicate with their spouse or their girlfriend because of the hours. You can't use the phone while you're driving, pretty much, and the hours that you park. The communication's not there a lot.
What about those that are successful? Certainly, you mentioned some great names in terms of folks within our fleet that really have some strength behind the wheel, that do a great job for us. What makes them successful?
Their spouses at home are picking up the leftovers that they have to take care of.
Okay.
When they're not away, and they're understanding. They know they can't be calling the husband or boyfriend all the time, or wife, and that's where the big thing is working with each other and trusting each other.
Okay. I think that's great advice, and certainly some valuable insight for those that are just getting into the industry. To take us completely off topic, and I have no better non sequitur than to say, what would you say is your favorite word?
Dinner time.
Isn't that favorite for everybody?
Yes. Especially me.
You do a lot of your own cooking and preparation over the weekend, I think, which is really important if you're getting out on the road. Keeps the cost down. What's your favorite thing to eat?
I like the TA buffets.
Okay.
You know, and a lot of times, you know, if I got a trainee, I treat them.
I believe that.
I treat them to the buffet. I treat them to Denny's. They don't pay for food on the road.
Okay. Well, maybe I should come out and train with you for a
No.
while.
You know, and if we're here, several times, we went to Roadhouse. I bought at Roadhouse.
Great place to eat.
Yeah, and Frickers. You know me, I love my Frickers.
You enjoy a wing every now and again.
Yeah.
I know I walked into the building a couple of weeks ago, and it's immediate. You know, for those of us who know that particular brand, as soon as I walked in the building, I knew that there was Frickers on the loose somewhere. Somebody had some. So it's certainly, you can't hide that scent. You know, we talked about some of your strengths. What would you say you're not very good at?
I don't know. That's the hard one to say. I don't know.
Okay. Nothing that, in your experience, like I've tried and I've tried and I've tried this, I can't get there. I know mine's a unicycle. I tried that when I was a kid and I just couldn't get it together.
No, I don't know if I have anything.
Okay. All right. That's fair. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, I told you, X-ray vision.
Yeah, that's the
I
one.
need to see what these guys in the shipping and receiving are doing because they take forever.
So now, what would you do with that information if you saw some shenanigans happening?
I've said it already a few times. I said, guys, you know, my time's running time. I'm not going to be running out of time in the dock if you guys going to sit there and keep chit-chatting together.
In their world, in their domain. I know we've kind of had some conversation that's been a little one-sided, and I want to give you an opportunity to discuss the things that you want to talk about as well, industry-related or otherwise. But what things do you want to talk about today?
I mean, I talked to you about it before about the broker loads. You know, the broker loads were having a lot of issues on the delivery time, the pickup time, the detention time. I mean, I understand it's between the shipper and the receiver. There's something going on there, but, you know, broker tells you it delivers this time. Receiver says, no, it delivers this time. So you end up sitting for quite a long time.
I think that's something that's always been the challenge, and I know that when we have those conversations and we're in a situation where you're kind of stuck because you're in the middle, and it's at the end of the day, it is all about human beings that pick up freight and deliver freight. They load the freight, they unload the freight. But the more moving parts I think you put into this thing, sometimes it gets more difficult. All the different technologies that have to kind of speak to one another in terms of the shipper and the receiver, those ordering processes. If you're, talking about a broker load, now you've added a third party that's involved with that, plus then the carrier and down to the driver. So you've got all these moving parts, and none of us are infallible. Obviously, we all are prone to make a mistake and do the wrong thing from time to time. It happens. But at the end of the day, none of that's real consolation for the driver that's sitting there and waiting to be unloaded. And the best that we can do is say, I need you to keep track of your time so we can get you paid appropriately, which in my experience, for any driver that you say that to, it's an automatic killer, because drivers are meant to drive.
Yep.
They're ready to go. They want to put down some miles, and even though you're getting paid, you don't feel like you're functioning. You don't feel like it's,
Correct.
It's time well spent. You could be doing something else. You could be doing something.
I mean, you
better.
can only sleep so much in the truck.
You can only watch so many movies, right?
And when you got 30, 40 hours behind in the sleeper or in the truck waiting to get unloaded, that's rough.
Yeah, I absolutely understand it. And I think that's where it's really important, and the message we always try to get out, and I think, quite frankly, you do a great job of the communication piece. When we get into those situations, that we're talking about it right away, that we find out what the core of that problem is and go to the source and get some answers and try and get some movement in those situations. I know, kind of drawing on kind of the same sort of thing. I had a broker load many, many years ago now. I will remain nameless, the customer that I was at, but I recall reading an entire book, doing some drawings and renderings, and doing everything but getting sleep, because it was the start of a day. You're fresh, you're ready to go, you've set yourself up perfectly for what's going to come next, so you got hours to be able to run that freight and do that next move, and it's very stifling and very frustrating to be in those situations.
Yep.
It's just kind of a side effect of the industry sometimes. Now, when we get into other situations where it's a customer that we've been to, 1,000 times and we run into the same things, that's where, as a carrier, we have to stand up and just say, hey, look, we can't continue to do this. We can't continue to haul this freight because it's at the detriment of our drivers. It's sucking away their time. It's no utilization for the equipment. It hurts everybody at that point.
Yes.
So, I appreciate you bringing that up because it's a reality, and to ignore those things that are kind of a negative in the industry would be a bad plan, especially in this type of forum. Anything else from an industry standpoint that hot topic, hot buttons, or anything that you're focused on right now? Anything you're concerned with out there?
No.
What about in the personal life? We talked about all these different things, but what about hobbies? What are the things you most enjoy?
I do a little bit of golfing, some fishing, camping. I got a camper up in Port Clinton, and I go to South Carolina to visit my father-in-law.
Okay, so you got a couple of different spots you can escape to, and do you enjoy lake fishing? You enjoy ocean fishing?
Ocean fishing.
Okay, all right. What do you like to fish for in the ocean?
Whatever I can catch. I don't keep anything. I just catch them.
You catch and release.
Yep, that's it.
That's not a bad plan. You're not catching any shark or anything like that. Right?
No.
Nothing that's going to pull you under.
No. Some stingrays and that I've
Is
caught.
that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How
Turtles.
How do you get rid of them bad boys?
Pair of needle nose. You just don't touch them.
Yeah, yeah, it'll hurt a little too much.
Yes.
I had a little birdie tell me that you also enjoy some country music.
Yes.
Okay, enjoy a little bit of singing too.
Yes, I do.
I did not know.
Oh yes, I do. I like a lot of country, and George Strait, Travis Tritt, Tim McGraw.
Okay, some of the classic country artists.
Yep.
Yeah. So is that the stuff you enjoy singing as well then?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Where can we see you sing?
I don't know.
I was going to ask you to sing here, but I know you.
No, I'm not going to sing here. But I don't even know if we have a karaoke bar around here.
I do know of one. Yeah.
Okay.
I know of actually a couple in the area, but they're smaller.
Okay.
Smaller places, smaller venues, but that's a good place to go.
That's just good ones,
So we can find some raw talent, put together a
Garner
group here.
Yeah. As long as they got a cordless mic, I don't need the screen.
You like to walk around a little?
Oh yeah, I go around and socialize.
That's why you wear the cowboy hat.
Yes.
Not because you won it a few years back, right?
Well, I wear a cowboy hat before that.
Okay. All right. So just continuing that trend.
Yep.
Well, Larry, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for spending it with me and giving us a little insight into you, and certainly we appreciate the job you do.
Appreciate it.
Have a great day and be safe out there.
All right, you too.